is Thursday. RawMikeRichards.com, broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto. 234 King Street East out of the Pacific Junction Hotel. Coming up today, do you need new sports now that football's over? We've got some good ones for you. Actually, one I really like, and the other three, stupid. That's kind of where we live, though. This is what we do. By the way, last night, did any Leaf get a 10-point night? Anyone?
Nope, nothing.
How'd that game end up going 3-2 a shootout? It was 2-0 when I was watching it, Russell. What happened? By the way, people are losing their minds because I guess in between someone asked a question of PK Subban. He said, yeah, well, growing up, in Scarborough, you want to play for the Leafs. He's, oh, my God, he said he wanted to play for the Leafs. Yeah, well, yeah, this just in. So did Gretzky. Just because you're from a certain area and you grow up loving a certain team, which, by the way, I believe, Dave, would be every athlete I've ever known.
Pretty much, exactly.
It doesn't mean that you're going to actually play for them professionally. Kind of doesn't work that way. Tremendous interview, though. Also, Alex Burrows, friend or foe? Doesn't matter. He's gone for 10. We'll talk to our resident NHL critic, Dave Bastel. Maybe it's a nice agree or disagree with Dave. You might have a varying opinion on that.
I don't know. I think everybody's going to agree with what I have to say about that.
But that's good to be popular.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I live for it. Why does that person like me? Last night it was the Leafs getting out to a head start that they almost didn't hang on to. Is this a characteristic, do you think? Because I'm seeing sometimes, what is a description of a team that is a championship caliber team? To me, it's finish. Like those in sport, and I talk about sometimes the culture of winning. The culture of winning, by definition, to me, means this. When you don't play your best game, when you fall behind, when you literally look like you're disinterested, the other team the entire time is thinking they're going to lose because you've come in with a culture of winning. And strangely enough, at one point, this team here, the Ted Nesbitt, Viking Ted from Blade Tape, this team was that.
Not anymore.
They were because here's what's. I used to look and at times there was a time where I put the New England Patriots in football, San Antonio Spurs in basketball, and I put the Red Wings in hockey as those benchmark franchises that actually brought that culture of winning. And look, those years I lived in Calgary, when the Flames were playing Detroit, even if Calgary somehow got a lead, every Flame fan, don't lie, was going, yeah, we're not going to win this game. Those playoff series that they had
Detroit
against
series was always a tough one.
It's terrible. And even when they came to town, it's like, hey, we got off to a 3-0 lead. Yeah, well, it because that is the weight of the team that says even when we play poorly, we're probably going to lose. The Leafs are just in the infancy of really becoming that team that has that kind of confidence. Not that they're not capable of winning. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a team that gets a 2-0 lead and then holds on. Because right now, they sort of look like a team that, in that 60 minutes, are you saying they're a team that plays 60 minutes?
No, they're not.
And I don't think they do, Dave.
No. The other thing, too, is, Mike, Nashville's a top 5 NHL team, no matter where they are. That's how good this team is. This is a Stanley Cup finalist from last year. Clearly, they have aspirations of returning or coming close to it. They're second place in the Central Division, the toughest division in hockey. I think Nashville is kind of in its own little tier with 4 or 5 other teams, but for the Leafs to jump off to a lead, they gave up 2 goals that were kind of fluky if you're really judging on what Nashville did. But you know what? Good teams will get the breaks. Good teams will get the bounces. Good teams will make these things happen. I think the Leafs should look at yesterday's game going, yeah, we understand we dropped the 2 goals and so forth and let the opposition in it, but you weren't playing the Ottawa Senators last night. You were playing a team that could return to the Cup final. Kudos to the Maple Leafs for 2 solid points against the very good club.
Staying with Nashville, news of Mike Fisher kind of working out, coming back. Do you like the move?
Yeah, I think I do. Former captain of the team, still lives in the area. Obviously, the wife has roots in that area. And for the most part, maybe the most liked Nashville Predator of all time, or one of them anyway. So for him to, get back into hockey shape, I'm sure he kept himself in shape for most of the year previous to him signing a contract last week. But you know what? It gives this team depth. It's a team. It's almost like receiving a player off injury that's been gone for like 4 or 5 months, or picking up a player in a trade that you gave up nothing in return. What we're going to see from the NBA in the next couple of days is players that get bought out and automatically sign with opposition teams. And we're looking at a guy like a Greg Monroe, could be going to the Boston Celtics, or could be going to a contending team in the Eastern Conference. That's going to be a tough sell for the Raptors, because the team that you're competing with is getting that free player. Nashville's getting that 4th line depth, the guy that's going to be in the trenches with them, the guy that's been in the NHL for 2 decades, and for the most part, a gamer. I like Mike Fisher. I got to work with him a lot with the Ottawa Senators, and you know what? Don't be surprised if he really bolsters that Predators attack.
Speaking of a predatory attack, apparently he's like a big hunter. Huge hunter.
Is he really?
Oh, he's got pictures out there.
He doesn't come across as.
He's got his face painted. I saw last night. It had deer on it.
Wow.
Like out in the woods, like I think he's Rambo. Apparently, he's got like acreage just outside of Nashville.
Yeah.
And he's got this facility. Let's call it.
I had no idea.
It's like he's the Dexter of animals, and he keeps himself in great shape. And then he's just like, "You drew first blood." Except it's deer, not like soldiers.
Right.
and that made me like him more. I would like, what if you go to their house? I would go to their house and there's Carrie Underwood going, hi. And then you go in there and you get a little venison. Maybe probably a little bourbon down there too. Maybe a little Jack Daniels.
Do they come across as the drinking type?
Who?
The Fisher Carrie.
There's a you don't think there's a trailer on that property? Come on. Think about it. I've been down there. I've been to Lynchburg. I've seen Nashville.
I'm just saying.
Hi.
She seems like a very Christian-like figure.
Who probably can gut and clear a deer and clean out in like less than 10 minutes, which I love. Does that make her more attractive? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Do you love her? Do you like? Is that a thing for you, Carrie Underwood? Because I'll be honest, if you go down to the South, which I love. Yes, that's when I call myself Bo Richards. I go by Bo. There are thousands of girls like that walking around like Costco. You go to Costco on a Friday night, man. I've been in Oklahoma, where the Walmart was where you went on a Friday night.
Wow.
Just hanging out. Here comes Sally. Don't say nothing. Just punch her. What, in the shoulder? Yeah, just watch. Stand by the bacon. It's true. I'm not making this up. I wish I was. Going to restaurants where it says a meat sandwich.
That's true. I have seen that.
Meat sandwich? Do you want it with or without tater tots? And so Henry Burris being from Oklahoma, I said,
grits was another thing.
Yeah, that's in there. It depends on how you do it, because you put tons of stuff in it. That's why. But when I said Henry Burris, he goes, well, what'd you have? Well, not tater. He goes, you didn't get tots with that? Henry, I didn't even know what the meat was. It just said meat.
Yeah, meat sandwich.
Yeah. Have you seen Deliverance? Have you seen Wrong Turn? I'm not biting into a sandwich and seeing an ear. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the Underwoods do that, or I guess the Fishers.
I think it's more the Underwoods.
And she was in the Sound of Music live. She was supposed to play Maria. But I don't know about that. Okay, well, that's a little different than the version that I saw, with what's-her-face? Julie Andrews.
Right.
But Nashville, as we speak, you believe they return to the Stanley Cup Finals, possibly.
You know what? It's a team that has the possibility of it. They have everything in place. They have the same unit they had last year improved upon. The guys are getting, I guess the experience they gained last year will help this franchise moving forward. But like I said, the Central Division is going to be a fight. Like if you look at how they're placing right now, Nashville would have to beat the St. Louis Blues in the first round just to get to the second. And in the second round, you'd have a date with a team like the Winnipeg Jets that are first place in the division, which are bigger and stronger than Nashville Predators, don't have the same experience, but at the same level of the Predators, absolutely. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, maybe your third round matchup might be the easiest of the 3 rounds if you're in that category. So
in the West, as you said, Dave, sometimes you go through it and they beat the hell out of each other. And so by the time they get to the Stanley Cup Finals, sometimes it's a little that's why I look at that one year, because the Darryl Sutter Kings era, they played a very physical game. That was a team that played really sort of classic Darryl Sutter kind of hockey. How they played all those game sevens. And then that series, the finals against New York.
Yep.
If you go back, if you looked at the box score, it doesn't really tell you. The Rangers could have been holding that Stanley Cup in that series, no problem. But you never know it by just looking at it. But how they got through the West, playing all those game sevens, and sometimes at least one of them was a reverse sweep, which is just so difficult to do, especially in the West. And they still win this. But that's the West. The East is going to be a little bit different. And as we said, those in the bottom quadrant, so those I don't even know if you call them bubble teams, because I really don't even think that, Dave, we're going to see any kind of run from any of those teams below the current 8 that you see. I don't see it. They're just not playing good enough hockey. Now, if we're talking about certain teams, so the Alex Burrows judgment.
Oof.
I think it needs this kind of music. Nasty. So there's poor old Taylor Hall. He must have been saying to himself, "What's going on? I think someone's kicking me in the head." They were. And knee to the head. And so the NHL, in sort of looking at the excuse, can we say excuse? The Burrows argument was that the knees he delivered to Hall's head, sort of like a jackhammer a little bit. It was like ground and pound a little bit. It was a little UFC. Resulted from his attempt to free his arm from a compromising position. This is his statement to the Department of Player Safety. And, of course, everything's done in a video. So you can't say, no, I didn't say that. Well, clearly you did. We recorded it on video.
Sure.
And they said, we do not agree with his interpretation, nor would we excuse repeated knees to an opponent's head for that reason. So Dave Bastel, looking at the penalty, he will also forfeit in that time $134,408 for that.
Yeah. And it's the sentencing on Alex Burrows is far too lenient by that standard. I look at this and say, you know what? The guy has such a terrible reputation in the NHL, and he's done it for his entire career. There's one thing to be a pest, and then there's one thing to be a complete a-hole, and that's what he is. A knee to the head repetitively to a star player. I looked at that, and I thought 25 games may not be enough. But the NHL decided to go 10 games. And for what it's worth, not surprising, because by NHL standards, they are very lenient on stupidity, and this is exactly what this is. They could have really sent a message to a player on a team that's not doing anything for postseason berths or anything like that by suspending him for the entire season, and decided not to. Where a guy will jump on another player's back, knows exactly what he's doing with his knee, and knees him twice to the back of the head when we're so prone to concussions. We talk about all these protocols in the NHL, the safety of players, headshots, but the NHL thinks only 10 games is worth 2 knees to the back of the head of a star player. The NHL simply hasn't learned that that's not how players should be conducting themselves when you're up against that kind of, I guess, roughness in the middle of in a skirmish. I understand that sometimes you lose your mind and you do things, but the stupidity of that play is just outrageous, and I can't understand why the NHL wouldn't really hammer it. I look at Twitter and you read it, and you usually get the pros and the cons. All I've seen is the pros on how bad of a penalty it is. And let's just start off with a couple here because I really like these ones. Look, it's Alex Burrows being the biggest piece of S in the entire world again.
Piece of shit, Dave. Piece of shit.
Alex Burrows is, and forever a pile of trash. I don't understand why Alex Burrows is allowed to play in the NHL anymore. Here's Alex Burrows going after Taylor Hall when Hall wasn't Okay, that's actually a nice one. I'm looking for more of the mean stuff that I enjoyed reading yesterday. But you get what I'm saying. Cowardly Bush League move by Alex Burrows. Thank goodness for all the veteran presence Alex Burrows brings to the Senators, because that's the dumbest, most selfish double minor you'll ever see in a long time. And I used to watch Chris Neal year in and year out. It's just stuff like that. Patrick O'Sullivan from the NHL Network may have said it best. Fun fact, Alex Burrows goes out of his way in the summer to attend charity golf events put on by other players to get people to like him. It doesn't work, and that's exactly what it is. There's pieces of crap like that take it too far, that people will sit there and say, I'm not into it, and then there's players that occasionally will do it. You understand the situation, but Alex Burrows isn't one of them. 10 games is a complete joke.
David Bastel, agree or disagree? Let us know today on Twitter.
That was far too long.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
That was far too
Doesn't
long.
matter. And you know what's funny? Whether the way you put it was whether he was of sound mind or not when he was doing it. I believe Weidman also got with the official. Did he not get 10 games?
Yeah, something like
initially,
that.
and then
that was
okay.
That was crazy too.
Jeff Manishin, so big time lawyer who watches our show out of Hamilton, Ross McBride. He saw it the same way I did. And look, he's works in defense, so you have to have some sort of semblance of what that would be in terms of protecting that player or saying what that. When he got rocked in the corner and he's skating towards the bench, I'm telling you, I don't think anyone is going to discount this. He was out of it.
Yes,
like he was, and just out of instinct because of where the official was, it could have been his 95-year-old grandmother. Had she been standing where the official was, Dave, she's going down too. It wasn't like he turned around and he was angry because someone had missed a call and he hit an official. He was just out of it. If you've ever had a concussion, you kind of know what that weird, almost a blindness. There's a white kind of
stars.
Yeah, it really is. It truly goes like that. And your first instinct, and because I've done this, even when people are trying to help you, you can't see what's going on. You're not of a conscious mind, and you lash out. If that's the same. And again, that's why I sort of look at, in the law of the land, where we look at precedents. What you're saying is that it's not premeditated, but you're in control of your body at that point. No one's been knocked out. There's no reason to think that he wasn't of a reasonable mind. That you're not aware that you're kicking a guy or kneeing a guy in the head. I look at that as worse than the Weidman case.
Much, much worse. Much worse. And for the NHL not to sit there and go, okay, well, here comes the boom. Here's 25 games. Here's the rest of the season. Here's, see you in 2018 season. They have no problem doing it to Raffi Torres. And Raffi Torres has done a lot of stupid things throughout his NHL career that existed. It doesn't exist anymore. But I don't know if you could put that into that category, though.
See, but there was a time where we used to talk about let's spin the wheel of justice. Yep. And sometimes that wheel of justice, it depended on whose name it landed on. Because if it wasn't like an offender, a repeat offender, they seemed to get some kind of break. Yeah. Like you just never. There was a weight to what you got depending on the name on the back of the jersey.
That's completely it.
Now I think they're better now than they used to be.
A little bit, but not much.
But it's not as good as I thought it would be with the advent of the video, the taping of the guy's defense. Yeah. I guess is the way I put it.
I'll never understand the rundown of what the NHL has is he's a first-time offender. I don't care if he's walked 17 grandmas to shelters and fed the poor and cleaned up for the needy and does church practices on the weekend. If he does something that stupid, you're gone for X amount of time. It's almost like if the NHL was in regular courts today and sat there and said, well, Joe Blow.
I ran over a guy.
Because
I was reckless.
Yeah, reckless. You've never done anything before. You killed this person. You've basically set back a family for the rest of their lives.
Forever. Yep.
And all their friends and everything like that. But you've never done anything before, so we're only giving you 2 years. It's like, no, that's not how the world works.
No, it's not how the world works.
I'm sorry. If you do something that stupid, you get the maximum fine, you get the maximum penalty, the suspension, whatever you want to call it, jail time in regular life. And I don't care how clean I don't care if you're the priest of the highest religion of whatever you believe in and what you don't believe in. You did something wrong. This is the penalty for it. The NHL doesn't play by those rules.
You're watching rawmikeRichards.com, either on the website or you're doing it on the dedicated YouTube channel. We appreciate it when you subscribe, which is the little thing in the corner, I think it's my head, by the DKI, our title sponsors. Just click on it, subscribe. That way you don't miss anything. I see people are going back, and they're catching up on a lot of the little promos that we've got from the shows and the shows themselves. We appreciate that. If you never want to miss one, make sure that you subscribe. And, of course, this is the time of year now that football's over. Are you looking for a new sport? Because there are some out there. Some of them I have never heard of before, and they look crazy. But yet, even in North America, maybe these sports are a little bigger than I think. Do you need to play fistball? Now, before your mind goes awash with what fistball might be, it's
fistball.
I hear Russell talking about it all the time, but I don't think it's this one. It looks like a cross between it's an outdoor sport. It's played on a pitch. It's kind of like volleyball, but I don't know how you describe it. And apparently people play this thing. Do you miss football? Well, try fistball. See, so they kind of have to make digs, the volleyball dig. Then there's an attack line, as you can see. And I guess it can bounce, attack. So, do you like it? Is this something that I can admit? It's holding my attention, and they're playing it in front of, obviously there are some people there.
It's not friends and family.
Well, I think it's a little more than that. See, the serve, it's very volleyball-like. There's chanting, which is very popular in sports. Chanting. I don't think they're chanting fist, fist, fist. Although I did rent that once. There we go. All right, so a lot of what do you think? Fistball. What do you make of that? That's our first new sport of the day. Would you bet on it?
I'm not betting on that.
I'd bet on it. Yeah, I would. I'm completely betting on that sport.
If we're looking for new sports, I know there's a couple coming up soon, but the most recent sport, I shouldn't say recent because it was already a while ago, but handball started grabbing my attention.
But see, that's if you're a hockey nation, that one almost makes sense. Yeah. You can get that one.
I have no idea how it hasn't caught on in Canada. No idea.
Is it big in the States? The Americans, are they any good at it?
The United States did not have a team in the Olympics in the handball.
Like who's the world power?
Oh, geez.
Is it France?
France is very good. A lot of the Baltic countries, yep. Sweden, Norway, Finland.
So Scandinavian countries too.
Iceland, big. And you know what? But France, for example, Italy, Germany, they have handball leagues.
Right.
Actually, you could bet on handball leagues on sportsinteraction.com.
Yes, you can, Dave.
Just saying, I've seen it. But yeah, it's an awesome sport, and you're right. The hockey, basketball mentality with those type of athletes, I think it'd be great here.
Sometimes now in the world of footy, and I've seen a lot of different kind of soccer. We've seen indoor soccer in Mexico, and I guess around the world. They play it in Europe as well. Have you ever seen beach soccer?
Beach soccer. Yes, I have.
It's crazy. It
Yes.
looks really hard.
Yes,
like
it does.
The sun is pounding down, and you're running on sand.
And it's hard to control a ball on sand. You can't really, the ball doesn't really dribble with you, right?
Like you're pouring sweat. It's like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Don't tell me the players don't stink. And that's one of the things that I don't like.
No. Stinky players.
No, like I said,
Yeah.
that's why I've heard things from offensive and defensive linemen, the things they do before a game. I'm like, God, they go, yeah. You try getting at me after 3 days of not
Showering
doing
ever.
and there's other stuff that goes on there too. Trust me, you have no idea how bad it is in the trenches. You don't want to go there.
Yeah, not for me.
But have you heard of this thing called futsal? What is it, Russell? It's
I think it's FUTSAL.
No, this is played by like all the big soccer nations. In fact, I think even UEFA. This might even be property of UEFA. Does it say? Is there a name? If we have to give a shout out to something.
Football TV, I guess.
Okay,
is the
so
channel, so
it's a smaller ball. There's like 5 guys out there, and a lot of countries play it. And I guess if you like soccer, do you like futsal?
Everton Cardoso again. Oh, it's gone in. What a stunning start for the underdogs. Everton Cardoso from range.
Yeah, that should have been stopped.
Spilled through the fingers of Andre. Shock of losing that early goal.
Oh, that was Shitty McFarlane in goal.
Oh,
Yeah.
McFarlane.
Oh, so unlucky. And again.
He goes.
And this time it's in.
Nice camera work.
1-1. Pedro Carey denied the first time.
It's like those little almost dodgeball kind of balls.
Yes.
But it's for North Americans. We get this.
And in.
I'd play this.
Yeah.
Pedro Carey.
Here comes Bastel
on
right
target
here.
again.
Oh, that's delicious. That's sheer quality, Bastel.
And he.
What do you think, Russell? Could you play this sport?
Oh, what a goal!
Yeah, you'd be good at this one.
Absolutely
No.
breathtaking.
I think you're the goalie here.
Miguel Ricardinho's in.
Oh!
And it's
What a time to score!
an absolutely majestic strike.
Majestic.
Quickly get the goalkeeper back on, or try to, and they haven't. Ricardinho scored.
Oh, that's bad.
He's one
That is
closer
Russell.
to the
All
record.
right, there you go. There's another one. There's another new sport.
Yeah, I'm into that. And
I would
man,
watch
for
that.
for the quality they have in this, maybe we could start right away. It's good stuff.
Yeah. You don't have to run that far. You can probably
Rough.
play with a cigar. That'd be all right.
Exactly.
I'd do it. Listening to some of the commentary in the NFL about Josh McDaniels is sort of interesting.
Yes.
Where I got to tell you that the optics are strange. And so you had Ballard yesterday, the general manager
Yes,
of the
Chris
Colts,
Ballard, yep.
saying, "I don't care what the reasoning is or the excuse. You're either in or you're out. Are you in or you out?" Now you have to realize there were some assistant coaches that took that job with the Colts, thinking that they were going to work with Josh McDaniels. Of course, they didn't hear from him. So ultimately, is there fault somewhere? Is there when you hear of that, are you okay with the fact that, there's the team that he's with that probably want him as a future coach when Bill Belichick steps down? But the timing of it, are you okay with someone saying, I'll take it, and then going back? It's not the first time in history, obviously, this has ever happened. It's sort
True.
of this, but the commitment of it is just kind of weird simply because of, I think, those assistant coaches. Is there fault with someone? And is the fault indeed with the Colts? The Colts on social media publicly talked about this is the next coach. They even had a press conference.
Yeah.
Or an assigned scheduled press conference.
Lined up to actually introduce him and so forth. It's interesting. I think the NFL should address something like this. And if something happens in this realm of a coach accepting a position like Matt Patricia accepted the Detroit Lions position a couple of weeks ago, maybe there has to be in place a signing of a contract before anything can be said. And if the contract is signed, maybe it's one of those where it's like it fulfills itself after 30 days or some sort of protection for the team, because the Colts look like idiots yesterday. Josh McDaniels looks like, well, even bigger so. But can you blame him if the owner comes up to him and says,
Here's more money.
I'll double your salary. Once whatchamacallit leaves, you take over. I mean, obviously the offer was there for him that made him stay with the Patriots. But man, the Colts look like fools. And you know what? maybe the Colts might be better off not having him as a head coach anyway, if that's kind of what they're up against character-wise.
Do you think Reich then is the...
I think he's the only guy for the job, to tell you the truth. I thought he was going to be a head coach somewhere last year. The guy has every single pedigree behind him that says he's going to make a good coach. He played behind a star in Jim Kelly. He was coached by Marv Levy, who was an all-time great Hall of Famer. He was a backup quarterback for years and years and years, and it almost seems that your backup quarterback, your catcher in baseball, your role player in hockey make the best style of coaches, and I think Frank Reich would be perfect in that situation. The bottom line is Andrew Luck has to be healthy.
Well, these are some of the things that we don't 100% know about. But I would say this. Like I listened to the press conference yesterday, and I listened to Chris Ballard talk, and I really kind of liked the way he spoke. Like I was a fan of what he had to say. The only thing I would say in a situation like this, because I hate guys who flip-flop like that. I mean, I don't think it ever looks good on your character. But I think what looks worse is when you have an organization, and let's face it, in the NFL, it is just big-time business, and that you put out there that you actually have the guy when indeed you did not.
Correct.
For instance, let's say Frank Reich is the next guy in line. There is no way in hell that anything is going out until he has signed that piece of paper.
Exactly.
Because you have to look at it a way that if they really were 100% confirmed that and thinking that they did the right thing, there would be no ability to flip-flop. So it kind of is the Colts' fault. I'm not huge on guys, sort of, and they've talked all season long. By the way, he and Ballard spent a lot of time throughout the season. I mean, this is, even though people say, well, tampering or what, trust me, it goes on. They understood each other very, very well.
Yep.
But when he got that call at his Ballard last Tuesday, said, I've got some bad news. And he just said, I just need an answer. You're in or you're out. And he said, well, I got to be out. He goes, well, I wish you the best of luck. And then, of course, at the end of the conference, he said, well, the rivalry's back on, which, what that, and Dave talked about it yesterday a little bit, between New England and the Colts. But it is an unfortunate situation. The ones I feel sorry for are assistant coaches who moved families from cities. You're taking kids out of school. You're going to Indianapolis. Have you been to Indianapolis? Do you think that's a dream come true for the wives and the kids that are going there?
Nope.
It's not. And so that I feel bad for. I think people said, well, why wouldn't Josh McDaniels, why wouldn't he contact those assistant coaches? Because it doesn't lend itself that way. You can't sit there and talk to all these other coaches before you talk to that ownership who's thinking that you're going to go there. It doesn't work like that. So I think ultimately it's got to be about best business practices. And the Colts, unfortunately, didn't do that. So if you want someone to blame, you're unfortunately going to have to look in the mirror. For Josh McDaniels, does it do anything for his character? I think it's 50-50. It depends on kind of how you see it, how good, or how excited would the New England fan base be about Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Well, you're replacing the hoodie. You're replacing that, decade and change of football excellence with number 12. So what does he do? Well, it depends. If 12's not there, and at some point he's not going to be Dave, I am, not sure if I want to be that next guy after Belichick, but at the end of the day, that's what happened. That was sort of the train wreck, and it truly was. There was a lot of people in the football world, Dave, were going, what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with not being the guy that, was next in line after Bill Belichick. I think he made a mistake not taking the Colts job. I think there was an opportunity for him to make good what went wrong in Denver when he was the head coach there, because that was a debacle. And now, if things don't work out in New England, I don't think people are banging on the door of Josh McDaniels after what has happened in the last 48 hours.
Well, you'd be very skeptical, for sure you would be,
so,
I think.
And the other thing, too, is with the McDaniels situation, teams are going to remember this, even if they're not in that situation that they were in McDaniels, where it's like, okay, well, until this is signed and sealed, we're announcing nothing. I think it'll be a big learning curve for teams that have made the mistakes before, because we hear it all the time. So-and-so is signing this. We're going here. We're going there. We're going there. And then most of it happens. There are those occasions, Mike, where it doesn't happen, and teams will learn by this.
If I'm looking at the futures, and do we dare look at NFL futures? Can you see into the future and make money doing it? The answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. If we're looking at NFL futures, once again, courtesy of more sponsors, that'd be Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Look at those numbers right now, Dave, for next year's Super Bowl.
Yep.
Go ahead. Give me some of those juicy numbers, and do you like them? I know what number I like, and I know who I'd be taking.
Well, I'm having a hard time firing this up. I don't know why this isn't.
Well, New England, the Patriots,
sorry about that.
are a 5.5.
So it's gone down.
5.5 to win the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
Followed by the Philadelphia Eagles
Yep.
at a 7. Green Bay Packers at a 10. The Vikings pay a 13.
Okay.
The Steelers a 15. The Rams are a 17. New Orleans Saints 17. Cowboys 19. Then it starts to swell. Falcons. San Francisco.
30, right? Oh, it's dropped.
It's 19 now.
It was 32 days ago.
San Francisco, the fact that they're in the top 10 is almost a miracle.
Yep.
And it all has to do with Dave's favorite quarterback, favorite
right.
quarterback, greatest quarterback who ever lived.
Greatest ever. And the best pickup by a team in the history of sports.
Jimmy G.
Yep, Jimmy G.
What about the Houston Texans? I mean, they had as many injuries. They had devastation to their town. They're a 21. That is $21. That's the payout. 21 times your money.
See, that's interesting because I think they were the best team in the division when they had that healthy quarterback, when the defense has J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Can everybody sit in place? If they can, Houston wins that division. And Houston maybe even gets one of those bye spots because I think that's how good of a team they are. That's not a bad sleeper pick if you're looking at it. I think that's
a great pick. The two picks that I kind of like that we're talking about, I think Philadelphia's going to be good again.
Yep.
I like the Eagles again. So if someone were pushing me, I'm either going to do I take an Eagles number or do I take a Texans number? I think I still would take the Eagles.
Here's what I don't understand.
But I like that Texans pick that you said.
I don't understand the Green Bay Packers at 10-1. I don't even think they're the best team in the division. I don't understand the Dallas Cowboys at 19. That makes no sense because they're not even the best team in the division.
Let's say Teddy Bridgewater comes in, which I believe is probably going to be the case.
The likely scenario.
He has more talent than Case Keenum. God bless him. I thought it was a great story.
Yes.
So what if you've got a better quarterback? You already know what the defense is in Minnesota.
Bingo.
Do we really think that Green Bay at this point is a better team than Minnesota? I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I look at this too. Also, no value. I'm sorry to say this, but at 19-1, I don't think the 49ers are a good value anymore. At 30-1, they were. At 19, I don't think they are. I don't think the Seahawks are at 26-1. I don't think the Chiefs at 29-1. I don't think the Raiders at 29-1 either. I look at the Colts. The Colts at 34, ahead of teams like the Ravens, the Lions, the Buccaneers. Buccaneers might be some value there because you're getting them at 50-1, and they did have an off year by their standards. Tennessee Titans might be a team to look at too at 50-1, considering that you look like Marcus Mariota, bounce back season in a weaker division. That would be interesting.
What about the Detroit Lions with the world's most expensive quarterback?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I had 50-1.
51 times your money, and you've got the most expensive quarterback.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sorry. The third best team in that division.
Look, it's never been easy being a Lions fan. Never. But those are your your NFL futures.
Good sleeper, too. The Washington Redskins. Alex Smith at quarterback. Yeah. They have him locked up for a couple of years. He's a little more mind-savvy on the field than a Kirk Cousins, even though I do like Kirk Cousins. Everything's in place. It's a tough division, yes, but can they compete with any team in the division? Yeah, I think they can. I think they could even compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. Are they better than them right now? No, they're not, but I'd put them in that conversation, and if you're getting that kind of value for your money, it's all about value, too. And then a lot of times you sit there and you go, okay, well, what happened during the year? Well, so-and-so went down with a suspension. So-and-so went down with an injury. So-and-so, you almost looked at the Raptors for the Eastern Conference. LeBron is the only guy that's playing on the Cavaliers. The Celtics look like they're starting to fade a little bit. teams like the Knicks have lost star players, so they're starting to drop down. The Raptors have been relatively healthy, aren't going to do really anything at the trade deadline, that is today.
Yeah, I don't see them doing
and they
that.
could be the team that goes out of the Eastern Conference.
They're playing good enough ball right now. If someone said, could they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I think, you know what? In deciding when you're all in, and I guess different franchises have sometimes a different perspective on what that is. You know what you're going to face in the West. So are you comparing yourself to those teams like the Golden States of the world? Oh, look, the Thunder, OKC Thunder. It's a very strong team. Is this a year where if you're the Raptors, you're all in at trade deadline? They don't have that reputation. Masai Ujiri is not a guy that goes out necessarily and thinks they have to add somebody. And I know Coach Casey isn't.
No.
He'd rather have the guys that he brought in and kind of, as they say, go to war with. I would think that the Raptors do nothing. Because, again, it's what do you give up to get? What are you giving to get? And I just don't think at this point they want to do that.
The comfort level of what this team is kind of transferred to from last year with how they distribute the ball, how they work that bench. This is the best bench in the NBA by far. And you know what? It's a 10-man effort every single night. I think they're the team to beat in the Eastern Conference.
And you know what? I'm not hating. I mean, look, I don't hate that. I mean, if anything else, what's more annoying is at times watching LeBron and 4 friends.
That's what it is.
And sometimes I can't. It's unless he has that 48-point, 51-point. I mean, you're asking so much of that guy at times. I just don't find that engaging basketball. But do I like it when a full team goes out there, moves the ball around, pushes the pace? I mean, look, it's much, as they like to say, smaller ball now. But I really like what the Raptors have done. The bench has been fantastic, and it's going to be an interesting time, I think, for Raptor fans this spring for once. Are you saying there's a chance? Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance. You're watching rawmikeRichards.com, both on the website and the dedicated YouTube channel brought to you by DKI Canada. Need a new sport? Do you need a sport that kind of resembles something else that you've seen before? Slam ball.
Love it.
I think it's got to be slam ball. I mean, here's something that I've seen Doug Heffernan do on the King of Queens. I've never really seen the league. And this does come from what's it come from there, Russell?
Slam Ball Europe.
Slam Ball Europe, and I think half the guys are American. I'm pretty sure half the guys are American. like guys who probably are really good athletes. I mean, you think about it. Guys who could play like Div 1 sports. A lot of these guys played 3, 4. They lettered in 2 or 3 different sports.
Yep.
So you're combining in this one the ability of basketball, and there's contact in this, and football. You're telling me you can play a football, basketball game, and by the way, add in trampolines and slam dunks.
Who doesn't like a trampoline?
Well, I'm just saying, slam ball could be your new favorite sport.
Regole importanti di slam ball. Qualche anche giustamente che spiegano mentre andiamo avanti.
E via, in arancione i Bouncers, in giallo gli Steel. Attenzione subito, i Bouncers proprio con
By the way, done in Italian.
È stata la grande delusione della partita settimana
Still loving
scorsa.
that. Look at this.
Vuol mettere il marchio subito. Ma
Assolutamente.
guardate questi quando arrivano. Fletcher, lasso in cima. Lasso in cima.
2 punti perché non è schiacciata, però intelligentemente appoggiato.
It is
E
smart.
loro possono stoppare, portare via la palla in fase discendente.
In your face.
Qui quando
Young,
salta-
ancora. Lui, no, questa volta stoppato in pieno. Attenzione
That's a big
però.
block.
Attenzione.
Not this one. Look at this. Are you loving this sport?
Yes.
Russell, are you liking this? Are you excited?
Non male.
It's great.
Thanks for that commentary. Back to the game.
È una ditta,
Sbagliano,
però
però.
sbaglia totalmente Fletcher. Attenzione.
I think that
Momento
Fletcher is
molto
the big star of the league.
Ha già sbagliato in 2 occasioni. E ora Maiden.
See, because you got to take these guys one-on-one and time your
yeah.
bounce.
Fammi vedere Fletcher.
See,
I'm waiting for the nice big collision in front of the net.
because now there's the basketball, little crossover.
E invece lui passa Goldman.
Oh no, there we
Questa
go.
volta è il contrario.
I'm loving that. I'm loving that sport.
A little bit of boom shakalaka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't believe you said that, but yes. Okay, so now as we look for new sports today, if you're missing, because
Slam ball is it.
that had everything. And now I'm going to use Russell's music for this one because I just
As Russell would say, it's great.
Did you hear about the lottery win for your mom? She just won $23 million.
That's great.
Yep. I think that's good. Here is something called, is it called 360 ball? Is that what they're calling it? Okay, that's why I'm using this music. Okay, you ready? Get ready for the excitement of this sport.
Oh, no.
Yeah, watch.
Well, you hit it. Well, you hit it. Let's hit it in the circle.
This is shit. This is a shit sport. If Dave, as close as we are, and you go, hey, do you want to come down and watch me play 360 ball?
No, never.
No. Rhymes with schnever. Look at this. There's ones that there's crowds on it. They call it a league. They have like a logo and stuff.
Who's the donkey who thought of this?
This is terrible. There's a guy. His name is Mason. Something Mason. Doug Mason. Yeah, Doug Mason never played football. I can tell you that.
No.
I don't like most racket sports, but this one.
3 o'clock wasn't good for Doug Mason.
And the crowd is chanting something. Shit, 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 shit. Sounds like they're cheering them on. Oh, shit, sport. Shit, sport. Yeah, okay. Get that off.
That's just terrible.
Can you imagine?
Woof. Yeah.
So, Russell, what do you think of that sport?
Not great.
Not great. Man, the evaluation, I love it.
Oh, yeah. That is just so those are the new exciting sports that you can try with your friends and family.
Got to bring out some handball tomorrow.
We can look because that as you said, that's the real deal. Of course, at this time of the year, I'm huge into college hoops. But again, that's where you see the separation that so here in Canada, there's a select few that actually are getting. Yeah. I mean, they like March Madness. Everyone likes March Madness, but when you go into those pools, this is what I always love. It's like the Olympic guys. They are experts on these sports every 4 years or whatever.
Bingo.
Have you ever gone, well, see, the problem with Michel Dundeledois is that in the synchro dive, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, you don't.
Shut up.
You don't know.
You don't know what the synchro dive. You think I'm watching any sport where the biggest part of it is bouncing? I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. Like two people dive. So they thought, you know what is good? When one person goes off the diving board, let's have two do it. So it can be twice as shitty. I'm not watching it. I'm not watching the banana hammocks. I don't want to see any of that stuff. Sure, some of the girls, but people go, yeah, you like the girls? Yeah, they're 10. What are you? The guy from Michigan State? The doctor or whatever? That's
Terrible.
awful. I'm not watching that sport. It's not. How is that a sport?
It's funny we're bringing up some of these obscure sports because we're on the verge, and I know it's already started on some events of another Winter Olympics. And a lot of times during the Winter Olympics, all of a sudden we start to watch luge, skeleton, bobsled. We talked about handball. We talked about, even yesterday, 2-person curling. It's stuff like this.
And you lost your first game, Johnny Moe. I know Johnny Moe. And I'm going to send an insulting tweet out, letting us down.
That's going to hurt him. They did win today. They did win today against the United States.
Tiger Woodsing all the girls like in the South Korean Denny's. Stop doing it because obviously it's affecting your game. I'm just saying.
So it's that kind of for these next 2.5 weeks, we'll be watching sports we wouldn't normally watch because it is the
But Olympics. I like how these guys do the single man.
Oh yeah.
Which one's is the skeleton the face
skeleton
first?
is head first. Luge is
Montgomery. What was his name? The guy who does
John.
Okay. He does
skeleton.
Yeah, he does the what was it? Not Big Brother. The Amazing Race.
Amazing Race Canada.
He's a really good guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Really good guy.
A lot of people don't know this. Russell and his brother, 2-man luge. Yeah, 2-man luge.
Yeah, that doesn't count the way they do it at home with no ice. They're just in the suits, like watching TV. That's not what they do.
For anybody that would lay down and then have
another guy on top of you.
Another guy on top.
I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you right now.
And then go down a hill.
It's not fun for me.
No.
But what about the single man? What is that? Is that a luge?
Yeah, there's single man luge.
And then the skeleton is head first.
Skeleton's head first. A skeleton's like the suicide of.
You put your face down there. You have no face.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have to be like in that movie Face Off with
John
Nicolas
Travolta.
Cage and John Travolta.
Yeah, good movie too.
Are you serious? What you're saying to me is I possibly could have someone's different face? Let me think about that. Who would I want? Oh, I know. Nicolas Cage's faces. That's what I would quite enjoy that because he's a great actor. Honestly, I have nothing for that.
I have done the bobsled though.
The 4-man one or the?
We were 4-man. What happened at?
At COP.
At COP in Calgary, we got a chance to drive with I guess backup training drivers and pilots. So you had, me and my cameraman were seats 2 and 3. I was 2, he was 3. Then you have the driver in front that was already in the bobsled. So obviously it wasn't like real because usually all 4 are going down the hill together.
Yeah.
But they're not going to trust us, who's never done it before, to do that and hop over. So they had the one guy in the back, which was Jesse Lumsden.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like Jesse's time.
Push,
He's
and
fast.
then in you go and down that was crazier than any Wonderland ride, Disneyland ride, Disney World
your
ride.
heart would be pounding for sure.
It was outstanding, but I thought, you know what? I'm not big into roller coasters, but I'm never going to get this chance again.
No.
So I did it.
I could imagine sitting there and all of a sudden you're ready to go, and there's the Canadian broadcast team. They're going, so team, isn't it like B, Canada A, or 3? Or is it numbers?
Canada 1, Canada 2, Canada 3.
Here's Canada 5. This is Team Richards, and she got a flask in there? I just saw something silver. They always asked me to do it, and I'd say, yeah, you always talk a big game. I said, well, but I never did.
Yeah.
I never did go.
It was
because there was that Melissa Hollingsworth,
yes.
And her last name was Richards at one point.
That's right.
And apparently she is not a fan of us.
Really?
No, whoever that Richie was.
I'm surprised.
Richie gone.
Richie gone.
He
gone.
Yeah, she don't like no Richie. Hey, what is that? What voice am I doing now? Okay, so look, tomorrow, this will be the first time we've in a long time, not a lot of gambling talk.
No, I know.
So what do we do?
It's almost like an off season for guys.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, look, I can find you some college basketball.
Oh, sure, and we can talk some Pebble Beach as well.
Well, see, now it's the golf season, so
Stephen Rapp. We should try phoning Stephen Rapp tomorrow too.
Does he?
He's a big gambling golf.
Is
guy.
he? Okay.
Yes.
Because a lot of people aren't sure how you wager on golf when it comes to a sports book, and I can tell you, like my thing is, and I've now, of course, there's a lot of sports that you wouldn't bet on, but let's say you got hockey. Let's say you have a hockey. Okay, so Russell, you're taking a look at the schedule this weekend. So obviously the numbers are out there, but are there games, especially for the Leafs, that you look at and you kind of like, because we can't see the numbers, are there games that you like?
You like their opponent on Saturday, let me tell you.
When I make my picks on the weekend or on the Friday shows, I try and stay away from the Leafs. I think they're too unpredictable.
So what about on
times.
Saturday night, though?
Saturday, again, so the Leafs are playing Ottawa on Saturday. They probably should beat them, but haven't had great luck against them, so I'm probably staying away from that. I haven't looked too much at the NHL schedule for Saturday. But
okay, so what we can kind of do is you can kind of look at the schedule, make some, for instance, do we think that the game against the Senators, does it go over? Does it go over or under? It depends on the number because we don't know. But lately we've been seeing sixes. We've been seeing sixes.
Well, when talking to Phil Gray last weekend, he said that he would not be surprised to see sevens on the board eventually for the NHL.
That is just crazy.
But so you sit there and you go under.
So if you take a bunch, and here's what I do. So on the parlays that I have with basketball and everything else, I go on a Sunday, and about through the turn or close to it, if I don't think there's someone who's got enough holes to make a run, I'll make 4. I've got a parlay. I've got one parlay, and then I'll make it the same way 4 times, Dave. And so on that past weekend, so you have Woodland, you have Ricky Fowler, you have was it Chivy or what's his name?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I take on the board. I just take the top 4. So even if it's remotely close with those guys that you look with, let's say they have like 9, 10, 12 holes left.
Click, click, click.
No one else behind it. I just put the 4 across.
Yep.
I just put the 4, and those numbers are usually between 4 and 13.
Really? Eh?
Some of them are huge. You're getting a 4, a 5, or a 9 for sure. So it takes that normal parlay and puts it in the upper atmosphere. That's what I like. Or stratosphere.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm not.
That's good.
What am I, Mr. Science? I'm not.
Sounds good. Stratosphere is a pretty big word.
Into the stratosphere.
Become best friends. Yep.
Oh, that's the gambling world.
You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep.
Slam ball.
It's time!
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today. Did you find your new favorite sport? I don't think it was, what was it called? Ball 360? 360 ball?
Yeah, it sure wasn't that.
Was it fist ball?
It was fist something.
Look, Peter North doesn't play it, if that's what you're thinking. I bet you TT Boy does. He seems like the kind of guy that would enjoy fistball. Yeah. I didn't mind it. So come up tomorrow, we'll talk about some of your gambling options. Probably take a look at what happens in the NBA if there's any kind of movement. I don't think there'll be a lot for the Raptors. And just general sarcasm and put-downs.
Fair enough.
The Revenge of Russell. How about that, Russell? Why don't you do some stuff tomorrow? Yeah. Revenge of Roast Beef. Friday.